BuzzFeed Tasty, one of the most recognizable food brands on the internet. Originally starting with faceless, short, shareable videos that popped off on Facebook and evolving to a more personality-driven food universe on all platforms. But as social media evolved and BuzzFeed's business priorities changed, many Tasty stars left to create their own brands, and the Tasty channel has never quite been the same. This video is going to be going over Tasty's origins, highlighting their main stars in popular series, as well as their spin-offs, the channel's decline and controversies, and where everyone is now. There's quite a lot to cover since Tasty is more than just the YouTube channel, so we are going to focus on the stars featured in the video content, but also some context on BuzzFeed as a business and social media as a whole at the time. Everything is very much intertwined and connected. At first, I was going to make this video a general part 2 on BuzzFeed stars overall and include the requested Tasty and Paralike together, but when researching, it just became way too many people to include in one video. It just felt kind of chaotic, so I decided to split them up. But don't fear, a video on Paralike is coming soon separately. I've also been seeing a ton of your guys' comments requesting for more OG beauty YouTubers, so that will be coming up as well. And with all that said, let's get into it. Tasty is BuzzFeed's food-focused media brand. It was launched in 2015 and started with faceless step-by-step recipes, optimized for autoplay and small screens. The videos would have some generic music in the background with concise and clear instructions written on the screen, making it easy to watch even if the video was muted, which was the default for in-feed videos on Facebook at the time. The format was short, fast-paced overhead cooking videos, which has been referred to as the hands and pans style. It was easy to watch, share, and replicate, which at the time made it super optimized for Facebook and was one of the most viral formats on Facebook ever. At its peak, it was getting hundreds of millions of views per month. This Tasty success led to a best-selling cookbook, a smart cooktop called the Tasty One Top, and even a Walmart kitchenware line. As time went on, video formats were getting more experimented with, while Tasty stars were also being noticed more on other BuzzFeed videos. And from 2017 to 2019, there was a heavy shift towards on-camera talent. They started rolling out more shows that were carried by the personalities of their chefs and food producers. Series like Make It Fancy, Making It Big, and I Draw You Cook. Shows like Worth It were also very popular and often seen as part of the Tasty brand. Although Worth It technically was on BuzzFeed Video, it's still in the food brand category of BuzzFeed overall, and they even dedicated resources into creating spin-off channels like About to Eat and Goodful. So who were these stars? There are so many people on these large channels. I apologize if I'm missing someone that you're curious about. Please let me know in the comments and we can all discuss and help fill each other in. Also, thank you to people who commented on my community post asking for feedback on the important stars to include for this video. First off, we have Alvin, probably most known for his series Making It Big, where he literally would make food big, like a 30-pound donut, 30-pound burger, 50 pounds of pancakes. It kind of reminds me of Epic Mealtime, but like more refined, I guess. Make It Fancy, which was Rie's signature series. Fans would suggest cheap or basic foods like instant ramen, Lunchables, or McDonald's, and then Rie would make it fancy by turning them into gourmet dishes. Not every Tasty star was a trained chef, but Rie was. So she gave this kind of calm, witty, and experienced aura in every video she was in, and she was in a lot of videos. I don't know if this is fully accurate to how everyone else remembers things, but I feel like Rie is the mother of Tasty. The I Draw You Cook series, where they would try to cook things that children just drew up, which you can imagine would result in some pretty interesting food being created. Rie made appearances in this show, as well as Alex, Alexis, and Hannah. I don't believe that Alex ever had her own reoccurring series on Tasty, but she was in a lot of videos from different series on Tasty, collaborating with others. So she was a very recognizable figure. She gave some comedic relief and some chaotic energy that people really loved. She did have a popular set of videos called Behind Tasty, where she took people behind Tasty, showing them the process of her filming a faceless Tasty video, including the cooking and recipe testing, and just getting all the right angles. She wasn't the only producer to make Behind Tasty videos. I feel like it was done when Tasty was still experimenting with doing more than just the faceless content, and was the time when audience started to meet the people behind the videos and became more attached to their personas. Alexis had her signature series Chef Out of Water, where she would be challenged to create meals using one appliance, and sometimes the appliance wouldn't even be related to food or cooking at all. Like there was one where she made a 3-course meal using only hair tools. Alexis was also one of the actually trained chefs at Tasty. Alexis often appeared in challenges like Can This Chef Do XYZ or amateur versus pro scenarios as the pro who was seen to be able to do pretty much anything. Hannah you might remember as the world's okayest mom from the different series called Mom in Progress that she had on BuzzFeed Video. I remember a lot of her content involving her kids by doing some challenge-driven family series like I banned sugar for a week or I let my kids do my makeup for a week. It was a super successful series. I believe it even made it on Apple TV and Prime Video at some point in the era of BuzzFeed putting their popular series on streaming platforms. She also had a Wine Mom series where she gave some comedic parenting takeaways. I'm mentioning her in the Tasty video because she was actually made an executive producer of Tasty and appeared in various Tasty videos like we mentioned with the I Draw You Cook. I really liked Hannah's content and persona on BuzzFeed. You might wonder why a teenage girl at the time was vibing with mom content, but like it was really hitting. Tasty also had a Eating Your Feed series where they would essentially try and recreate viral or trending foods and dishes, like a cheesy bread cube or watermelon ham. Different people starred in this series on and off, but Nikki and Andrew were the most frequent faces. Nikki didn't have any main series for herself either, but she had frequent appearances on Tasty, and I also remember seeing her a lot on BuzzFeed Video as well. There's just so many crossovers of people between the channels, as well as people who worked behind the scenes but then would pop in and out, and then eventually like show up even more. Merle was another girlie who was on multiple BuzzFeed channels. She ultimately became known as the plant-based imperfect vegan. While at BuzzFeed, she was closely tied to BuzzFeed Goodful, which was the wellness lifestyle spinoff from Tasty. But she's also known from her videos on BuzzFeed Video that involve her and her partner Aria. They were being referred to as BuzzFeed's perfect couple at some point. They have a playlist on YouTube with 51 videos they have together on BuzzFeed. Aria was also featured in Tasty channel videos here and there too, as a familiar face. Now let's get to Worth It. Worth It went on from 2016 to 2023 and had 12 seasons. It made it onto Hulu and Amazon Prime. Steven was the creator of the show, co-hosted with Andrew, and behind the camera was Adam. Steven, Andrew, and Adam were the trio behind this show, where they would go to different food spots and try the same food at different prices, and then decide ultimately which one they felt was the most worth it. Andrew and Adam also worked on other Tasty projects like the spin-off channel About to Eat. About to Eat was a spin-off channel from Tasty that was focused on food storytelling and spotlighting the behind the scenes of great food and the ones involved. This is where we see stars like Inga really shine with her series where she tries to cook one type of food for 24 hours and then comes back with different learnings and takeaways from the experience. I personally really love her content. I almost included her as an honorable mention in our first BuzzFeed video, but that video was getting really long, so I ended up not including her. And I was excited when you guys were commenting asking for a Tasty part 2 because now I get to talk about her. I just think she has a very warm and friendly personality on camera, and she shows such a curiosity for food and making good food. About to Eat felt a bit more wholesome and like an indie channel rather than overproduced and maybe too colorful and cheesy energy on the Tasty channel. Not to say that there was anything wrong with the Tasty channel because that was truly the meta, but I feel like that was kind of coming out of favor with audiences, / there was just kind of like a different niche that they could have been hitting. There were also other familiar faces on the channel that made appearances like Rie and Alvin. Adam also worked there behind the camera. Sean also became a consistent face on the channel, especially with the series Strong Opinions, where Sean, Andrew, and Inka would basically make the same food but in their own way and then defend it against each other and kind of have to debate it out. The channel ended up shutting down in May 2023, and I suspect it's probably because the personalities that were the heart of the channel had left at that point. The Instagram post about it says that it's been put on pause, but like, come on, there's no way that they can revive the channel at this point without the people. It's just nothing. Some newer series that also found success was the Lost in Translation series, where basically the task was to cook something according to a recipe that had been through Google Translate a bunch of times, which, as you can possibly imagine, would make it pretty hard to understand and follow. The main hosts of the show being Katie and Jasmine. I say that the series was newer, but it was like 2022, so it's not really that new, but it just wasn't at the super peak era of Tasty. Tasty. Katie and Jasmine actually work on a lot of stuff together. They also had a podcast under Tasty called Bite Club that went on for a couple months in 2024. In the podcast episodes, they would debate about the top 5 ex-food things, like top 5 discontinued snacks, top 5 frozen meals, etc. Besides this, Jasmine and Katie were also featured in other series and just other one-off videos on Tasty's channel throughout the years. In regards to Tasty's decline, like in our Bon Appetit video, it's not like the brand is completely gone or dead by any means. The channel is still actively posting and getting viewership, but when you compare their average view count to their 21.3 million subscriber count, you can clearly see that the channel has fallen. And from what I gathered online, the reason is mostly attributed to social media platform changes, BuzzFeed as a business reprioritizing its projects, and talent leaving. And this didn't happen overnight. Unlike the BA scandals where things really fell apart in a matter of months, BuzzFeed Tasty has been more of a slow, steady decline. Earlier in this video, we talked about how huge BuzzFeed Tasty was on Facebook at its start. And while that is Facebook and not YouTube, it does affect how much the overall brand would be invested in if Facebook was the main pillar for determining its success and value. In 2019, Facebook settled a lawsuit over inflated video metrics, and they had to pay out advertisers around $40 million. This meant that the huge numbers that BuzzFeed thought they were getting on Facebook, while still large, were not as large as they had thought. Some sources reported that Facebook had inflated average view time metrics for video ads by 60 to 80%. And some feel that BuzzFeed had this false sense of security from those inflated metrics and had been investing way more into their video content than written content in general because of it. And once they realized what the real numbers were, they started to restructure and lay off a lot of the teams that were focused on video content. So in 2019, BuzzFeed had large layoffs and restructurings. Their spin-off channels like Tasty required sustained investment, and once budget shrank, production slowed, and quality was affected. It was kind of this domino effect, and the stars and employees that they still had were now working extra hard with less resources, and at the same time, a lot of independent food creators on YouTube and other social media platforms were finding success. So why work at this job stressing you out with little resources, little freedom, little to no ownership of your work, and all this corporate BS when you could just do your own thing? This kind of mindset led to Worth It's end in 2023, which we talked about in our other BuzzFeed video. Worth It was a huge franchise to BuzzFeed that was now gone, and Steven, Andrew, and Adam end up launching their own YouTube channel successor to Worth It, which gained 100,000 subscribers in just the first 3 days, which is just even more clear evidence that fan bases really follow the people and not the brand. But before that, already in 2019, Alex and Alexis had left to grow their own personal brands and found their own success. We're gonna get more into what everyone's been doing since leaving Tasty later in this video, but I just wanted to highlight here that the stars leaving definitely had an impact on the Tasty fan base. And I don't know if Tasty will ever have a full comeback because it seems pretty deprioritized from BuzzFeed overall. Just last year in 2024, BuzzFeed was selling other assets of their company like Complex Networks, First We Feast, which is the company behind the show The Hot Ones, and they even explored selling Tasty. By the way, I don't know why they sold Hot Ones. I swear they really could have made something happen with that. I mean, it's already a successful show. I guess it really shows that their priorities are shifting as a business. So my thought is that they probably weren't super bullish on Tasty really popping off at that point and probably weren't going to invest more resources into it and maybe are just trying to keep the lights on. And throughout the years, Tasty as a brand has also had its own controversies. Early on in 2016 and 2017, several food bloggers and writers had criticized Tasty for allegedly copying recipe ideas, which would sometimes result in Tasty retroactively adding proper credits. If you watched the BA video we did, these big corporations are no strangers to be accused of copying. I feel like copying is such an interesting conversation to have, especially when it comes to posting things online, since virtually nothing is going to be completely original at this point, especially when we live in a time right now where algorithms heavily favor trends and things that are similar. I don't think it always comes from malicious intent, but I'm also not going to tell someone who feels like they got copied not to speak out about that feeling. I think the internet is pretty good at being able to judge when things get called out. Just this year, Tasty received backlash over an Instagram post, "What I Think Each Love Island Girl Deserves for Breakfast," where they had a carousel slide for the contestant Shelly, who is a black woman, that said that she deserved a knuckle sandwich. So the Love Island USA context is that at this time, Shelly had just gotten in a controversial disagreement with a different Love Island contestant, which led to some people being on Shelly's side and other people being on the other girl's side. Clearly from whoever wrote Tasty's post, they were signaling that they were on the other girl's side. The post was seen as tone deaf, racially insensitive, and anti-black. At the time, Shelly couldn't see the post because she was on the show and the show was filmed in real time, but her team called them out for the content, emphasizing that no one deserved violence. Which, like, yeah, I don't know why we're making posts that anyone would deserve a knuckle sandwich over reality TV drama. So then Tasty deleted the post and followed up with an apology, but then that apology was also removed because there was still more backlash against that. And then eventually, like a month later, BuzzFeed issued a more formal apology and listed steps to prevent the same harm in the future. Now getting into where the various Tasty stars are now after leaving BuzzFeed. Alvin is now a creator and host at the Babish Culinary Universe with 3 regular series. Anime with Alvin, where he creates iconic dishes from popular animes like the strawberry shortcake from Death Note. Rie also guest starred on the Melon Pan episode. Arcade with Alvin, where he creates iconic dishes from video or computer games like the giant omelet from Neopets. And Anything with Alvin, which is what the title suggests. He literally makes anything that he wants to make, but it's all pretty interesting stuff that has some special thing to it, like a giant katsudon. Can I just say that these series ideas are so creative and fun, especially the anime and video computer game series. Like, how often have I watched something in an anime or seen something in a game that I really wanted to eat, and then here he is making them? He also has a personal YouTube channel with over 1.4 million subscribers, where the style is a lot more cinematic, but his YouTube channel doesn't seem super active right now. Rie has since released her own cookbook called Make It Japanese, which earned Best Cookbook of the Year titles from the Los Angeles Times, NPR, Good Housekeeping, and more. She has her own YouTube channel, but it's not super active anymore in terms of long-form content. She mainly posts short-form content on all her platforms. Alex has continued being a food content creator after leaving Tasty. She has a TikTok where she explains why she left Tasty, which is basically a combination of the top-down videos getting really boring, feeling burnout, being expected to make on-camera appearances but still having an expectation to meet for quota in her other work, all in combination with her starting her own YouTube channel and running her Instagram. So she realized that her producer role at Tasty was holding her back from working on her own projects, and it was giving her a lot of anxiety, but she still works with them occasionally as talent. She also has her own YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok creating short-form content, and this year she released a cookbook called Scratch That, Embrace the Mess, Cook to Impress. Alexis went on to release a cookbook called To the Last Bite that promotes low-waste cooking. She also has a new cookbook called Nights and Weekends, Recipes that Make the Most of Your Time. She also has a newsletter called Side Dish where she shares low-lift, high-reward recipes, which I really respect her for sticking with her brand that kind of started on Tasty of her just being this really resourceful cook. She does have a YouTube channel, but she's mostly active on Instagram, and she literally lives and runs a farm with her partner and her mom. It's kind of iconic behavior if you ask me. Hannah's still on YouTube, occasionally posting family content, but she posts more frequently on Instagram. I remember her 2 oldest sons being in so many iconic BuzzFeed videos, so it's kind of crazy and wholesome to see how much her family has grown. According to LinkedIn, she's a creative director at Mojave Enterprises now. Merle runs her own YouTube channel and is still super active on it. She is still vegan, and it seems to be a prominent theme of her channel and her content. She's also an actor and a streamer. Also, from what I could find online, she and Arya are still together, but I couldn't find evidence of any marriage. They had a joint podcast called Borderline Inappropriate, but it doesn't seem to be active anymore. As for the Worth It guys, Steven, Andrew, and Adam, we already covered it earlier, but they have their own Worth It successor and is under Watcher Entertainment, which again we covered in our first BuzzFeed video. Okay, moving on. Inga left in early 2023 to focus on her own YouTube channel, which, like, yes girl, pop off. She has a video talking about why she left, and she cited burnout as one of the main reasons, since she was juggling her own channel and her work at BuzzFeed while being stuck at home during the pandemic. She had thought that having the opportunity to work on About to Eat would help her reignite the spark that she had lost with her job. And for a year or two, it did work, but then the restlessness did come back. So ultimately, she had to choose if she should stay somewhere comfortable and stagnant or put herself in an uncomfortable place where she could grow again. So she's now posting on her YouTube channel similar food and cooking content, and last year she even went to Paris for a month for culinary school. Sean announced his departure from BuzzFeed later on in 2023, saying that he was laid off after working there for 7 years. He announced it on Instagram, but the post has since been deleted. Some people online are speculating that he could be working with Watcher Entertainment on the show with Steven, Andrew, and Adam, but that's not confirmed. Nikki got more into filmmaking as a writer and director. She wrote and directed a short film called Maxine, which was created through Disney's Launchpad program and premiered on Disney+, and it won Best LGBTQ+ Short Film at the 2023 Holly Shorts Film Festival. It's pretty interesting to compare and contrast this to the BA video, because everyone from the BA video continued on with doing food content because food was clearly their passion and they were all like chefs. Whereas for BuzzFeed Tasty, it's a little less serious. Like there were legit chefs, but also people who kind of just took food as a hobby and kind of grew that passion, but also some people who are interested in it, but that was never their main goal. Jasmine now runs her own YouTube and TikTok accounts focusing on food tours, cooking, and budget-friendly traveling. A lot of her content also features her husband, which like the first time I actually saw Jasmine's content wasn't even from BuzzFeed Tasty. It was definitely from me seeing a TikTok of her and her husband eating different food at Disneyland. She is active on long form and short form, but I think her short form tends to pop off more. She makes good content. I'm a fan. Katie is the only one still at BuzzFeed today. She recently launched a new series called Tasty Carpool, where she and her co-host Ivana drive around and try some food or dish at different price points, including a homemade version. It's really giving carpool karaoke meets worth it. Alex actually made an appearance on their first episode titled $165 versus $3.49 versus homemade mac and cheese. So that was a fun collab. A lot of people in the comments noted that they thought it was nice seeing Alex on BuzzFeed again. As for where Tasty is now, again, they still have over 21 million subscribers on YouTube. The brand is still alive, it's still posting. It's just not what it used to be in terms of its video content side of things. I mean, for context, that new Tasty Carpool episode got around 30,000 views, whereas the Worth It series would be garnering millions and millions at its peak. Tasty did build a WhatsApp channel that surpassed 1 million followers in less than a year, with its main content format there being text and photo. But in terms of monetization, there's nothing inherently in WhatsApp that they can monetize over like there is on Facebook and YouTube. So it's still unclear exactly if there's an avenue for Tasty to be back on BuzzFeed's good side. Like maybe they'll just end up trying to sell it again. It's giving maintenance mode. I mean, when you see the channel posting marathon videos of old popular series of people that don't even work there anymore, it's just giving we're here to keep the lights on energy. Just to be super clear, I'm not trying to come for anyone who currently works on BuzzFeed Tasty. It's just a fact that the channel has declined in popularity, and it could be because of many different factors. If you are still engaging with BuzzFeed Tasty content on the regular, I'd love to hear from you in the comments on what you enjoy about it and if you've noticed changes over the years. And if you used to love BuzzFeed Tasty and don't really watch anymore, I'd also love to hear why that is. And with that, thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already seen the ex-BuzzFeed stars video, make sure to check it out where we discuss the Try Guys, Ladylike, BuzzFeed Unsolved, Worth It, and more honorable mentions. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!